Why, good morning. This is the 6th Vlogmas, and this week I am spending putting together the dummy and the art samples and stuff like that, but I realized that there was a little bit of a flaw in the order of things, and actually the next best step to do before putting together your dummy is actually to go ahead and solicit feedback. So that is what I'm working on this morning. As I mentioned, the morning is kind of my best time for writing, so I'm going ahead and taking advantage of that. And I went ahead and got some feedback from Marcia when I saw her last week at the cafe. She is actually published and she's been in the industry for a while, and she's just really good at kind of giving like nice, comprehensive and helpful feedback. So currently my morning looks like this. Got matcha. I alternate coffee and matcha every other day. So anyway, I am just taking some time and trying to incorporate Marcia's super helpful edits. So I'm gonna do that for probably about an hour. What was that? Pierre usually has a big play in the morning, and then he will come and snuggle on my lap and take a little cat nap before he starts his day. Isn't that right? All right, so it's later in the day and I just got back from yoga, so I'm feeling pretty zenned out right now, pretty relaxed. And I've made a couple of notes about the value of getting feedback. So the first thing that I want to say is that it's totally your choice. You don't have to solicit feedback. However, I always feel like it's a pretty good idea. Especially if you have like a couple of confidants who are professional and creative and who kind of understand like your work and your voice and who you trust. These are people who should just help you elevate it rather than kind of cut you down and stress you out. So feedback shouldn't be too much of a stressful process, ideally. And so, as per usual, I just kind of put sort of 3 like tips in terms of soliciting and receiving feedback for a picture book. So one is make sure that you always read the book aloud to people. This I do as much as possible. Like even if I'm not ready to get feedback, I just like to read it aloud because that is how it's supposed to be read. I think I mentioned this in another video, but you can really pick up on like where it falls flat and where it sounds really nice and stuff like that just by reading it aloud. And you can also get a lot of nonverbal feedback from how the people react to you reading the story aloud. So that is simple. Number 1, read your story aloud to people. Okay, number 2, be selective about who you ask for feedback from. I think like initially I was kind of asking for feedback from family and friends, and that's just never a good idea. For one thing, I think that really like giving feedback is an art, and there's a lot of value in finding somebody who's actually in the industry and a professional to do it. Because feedback can be a very subjective thing, and what you want to happen is for the feedbacker to bring a level of objectivity to their feedback. So to be able to go to look at your story structure and go, okay, this isn't exactly working because, okay, the market, this is going to be a hard sell in the market because, you know, this age range of kids maybe won't get this, and so on and so forth. And also bring that creative layer, like, okay, well, you know, initially you started off really strong and I was really tracking, but then I kind of lost like the emotional connection with the character at this point. That kind of thing. And without like the knowledge and language to give feedback like that, and often like from your family, you're just gonna get like, this is so great, I love this. Like I will totally buy it when it gets published. At least that's what I get. So be selective about who you ask for feedback from. And number 3 is you don't have to take it. Just because you asked for feedback and somebody gave it to you does not mean that you have to take it by any means. Do not feel obligated. Take it in, know that it's not personal. If there is anything that strikes a chord and that like kind of makes you frustrated or mad or you get indignant, lean into that feeling, because it usually means that maybe you're not quite satisfied with it too, or I don't know, it sparked something, it hit a nerve. And that's always something to pay attention to. But, you know, at the end of the day, your story is your story. If you are getting the same types of feedback again and again and again, that is a sign that something needs to change. If a reader didn't understand something, pay attention to why they didn't understand it. But you don't have to dramatically change anyone or take anyone's advice, because it is an opinion and it is subjective. So just know that, and, you know, take ownership of, you know what you're trying to say. So say that. There are a number of different groups and ways that you can get feedback professionally. So you can join a critique group, you can go to conferences, and you can actually pay like a little sum of money and get professionals, editors, art directors, agents to give you feedback on the manuscript. And then you can just be like me and find a buddy and go to a coffee shop and ask for it. So in the spirit of soliciting feedback, I thought that I would actually read you guys my manuscript where I am right now. I'm sure it's gonna change, but this is after I incorporated that round of feedback this morning. And I don't know, like, feel free to tell me what you think if you want. Or not, like, you're totally not obligated. But if anyone has any thoughts, like, please don't worry about offending me or anything like that. I'm definitely have taken my fair share of feedback in life. So yes, here we go. A T-Rex in Paris. This is Mr. T, a terribly polite Tyrannosaurus Rex who loves to travel the world. Can you guess where he's going today? Paris, city of lights, love, and snails. As an expert traveler, Mr. T tries very hard not to make any cultural faux pas. He wears his beret to the cafe, practices bisous at the zoo, and makes sure to charm everyone who crosses his path with a big bonjour. Parisians are famous for their haute couture and their haute cuisine. But Mr. T's favorite food group is definitely dessert. A travel connoisseur must have a rich knowledge of history and the arts. Being larger than the average traveler can sometimes be awkward. It's not always easy to fit in, but it also has its benefits. Bonne nuit, Paris. The only question is, where in the world will Mr. T travel to next? So even as I read that, I kind of noticed a couple points where the words got a little sticky. It is kind of weird to read something that is supposed to be illustrated when you're like leaning on the illustrations to do some of the storytelling for you. But ultimately the words should also work themselves. So after reading this, I'm probably gonna take a little look at where I felt like I got a little bit stuck or like changed too abruptly. So yeah, even reading it to you guys was helpful. And then just so you can get a little view of what I would consider good feedback, I'm gonna go ahead and read you what Marcia told me after she read my manuscript a couple days ago. So, feedback, wait, no. Okay, Marcia notes. So she said, for the character to really resonate, make sure that I set up that he always tries really hard, but he doesn't always accomplish like what he wants because of his sort of bulky ways and his terrible clumsiness. Make sure to give like 3 examples of how he tries really hard with the Paris flavor added in. So that's like, oh, he wears the beret at the cafe and all that. Make sure that you have a resolution that's true to character. So what you guys didn't see was at the end when it's like Bonne nuit Paris, that he's actually hugging the Eiffel Tower. And then another wonderful piece of sort of advice that she gave me was that maybe the illustrations can follow the arc of the day. So it starts in the morning and then it ends at night. And I absolutely loved that. She said have two, because this is a series, so have 2 more story ideas, so like London and Tokyo or something ready for when I pitch. Because if editors like it, they'll ask for more. And then she also just gave me like the name of another example of a character who's doing something similar to Mr. T, so kind of showing kids around the world and introducing them to other cultures. So that is all I have to say about that. And I hope you enjoyed this vlog. Thank you so much everyone who's telling me that you enjoy the series and stuff like that. I'm having fun making it. And I do hope that it's helpful. I still, again, have like so much to learn and I have yet to publish a picture book. So hopefully we're all gonna make this happen in 2018. So I will be back in a couple days with the next edition. Until then, TTFN.